Hey, welcome back to another episode of Gecko Cove. My name is Bobby, and today I'm going to be sharing with you everything I've learned about breeding in the past year. If that sounds interesting? Stick around. So you want to breed gargoyle geckos and you don't know where to start, or maybe this is like the third video you've clicked on and you want to hear someone else's opinion. That's what I did. All right. There are some great tutorials. I'll link them down in the description if you haven't seen those. Do not treat this as if it's the breeding Bible. Okay. I am in year 2, right? In the beginning of year 2, I've got a bunch of eggs. I've got things rolling a little bit. I feel like I know what I'm doing for now. I could always tweak things. But I want to share with you and my audience that, here's some things that have worked for me. Here's some things that have been hiccups. And so that's what this video is going to be. It's going to be me sharing my experiences, maybe me running through, the iterations of what I was thinking before I actually started breeding, because, you could breed geckos in a lot of different kind of scenarios, and I'll go over that in just a minute. All right. But let's start at the very beginning. What do you need to breed gargoyle geckos?
What, like breed?
Well, this should be obvious, but you need some gargoyle geckos. You need a male and a female. And you can't just throw in 2 baby geckos, raise them up together, and if they're male and female, you're good to go. Babies are cannibals. They'll eat each other's tails and toes. Don't do it.
Cannibal!
So we need to wait till a certain age and time. Now, this I've heard a lot of great information on. I think the hardest part for people is patience, right? We want these geckos to be adults and we want them fast. That's why some people just go and buy adults, which is an option. However, all right, when you have babies, we need to know exactly when is it appropriate for them to start being paired together. What I've heard a whole spectrum from 2 years all the way up to 4 years being the minimum age, all right? Now, I tend to lean towards it depends on the gecko. All right. There are some geckos that at 2 years old were super healthy. They're at a great weight. They laid maybe a set of duds beforehand, and they were ready to get going at 2 years old. Anything before 2 years old, I don't care if it's male, female, it's just too young in my opinion. Don't do it. You're going to have a lot of calcium issues and crashes. All right, so let's back up. Males, where do they need to be? So I've heard in other videos that they can be 1.5 years as long as they're up to weight. And some breeders will tell you that, that's no problem. I personally want to wait until males are at least 2 years old and at least 45 grams. The reason why I say that is I've had a few males where at 40 grams, I've paired them and they lose a bunch of weight. Males, when you pair them, they think nothing about food. They think nothing about just relaxing. They have a job.
Sex is obviously the only thing on your mind.
Right? And they'll go off food and they'll lose a bunch of weight, which is no good. If you spent 2 years or more getting this gecko, especially for some reason the nicer geckos always take a little bit longer to grow. You've spent all this time growing them up, and all of a sudden you lose them for the season because they drop back down to 32 grams and they're emaciated and they're not healthy. You need to pull them, and you need to make sure that you're watching your males for that specific reason. Now, also, males' weight should be within around 10 grams to the female. Maybe with really large males and females, you could push it to maybe 15 grams. But I would say to have full success, 10 grams in between whatever the male's weight is. So if it's like 45 grams, don't put it with a 65 gram female. Make sure that it's, around 10 grams in between the two. All right, now let's talk about the girls. Your girls are the ones you need to have the healthiest, right, in order to have a successful breeding season. Your very first season with any girl, I would say you'll hear anything from 2 years all the way up to waiting until she's 4 years old. I think it depends. She needs to be at a healthy weight. She needs to be consistently at that weight, and she needs to reach some certain benchmarks, which are minimum 2 years old. I'm leaning towards 3 years old moving forward. Now, when I first started, 3 years was too long, right? I was impatient and I went 2 years, didn't have any issues, but I'll get to an anecdote in just a minute. They need to be at least, I would say, 55 grams. Do not do it just even at 50. I've seen them jump back down to the 40s, and that gets a little bit too hairy with an adult female who's producing eggs on a regular basis. And so I would say minimum 2.5 years old, 55 to 60 grams, and just maintaining overall health. Don't feed it a giant meal and go, oh, it's there. It just got to 50 grams.
Made weight? Barely.
Don't do that, all right? Give it a little bit of time. Be patient. Everything in this hobby, if you haven't learned it yet, is about patience. Once you have a healthy female, she will give back eggs and repay you for it time and time again. If you rush these things, nature's just going to go and say, no, actually, you've got to wait even longer. You're in a timeout. So just be patient to begin with. Wait till she is consistently at a certain weight, which should usually be around 55 to 60 grams, maybe for a few, I'd say months, probably 2 or 3 months, and then consider pairing her. If you need to bump her to the middle of a season, or you want to bump, her to the next year, that's not the worst thing. I know if you only have a few geckos, that sounds like forever.
But I want it now!
But this hobby is all about doing what's right for the gecko and being patient. Now, I've also heard that you could potentially breed females if they're already laying duds. If they're under 2 years old or close to 2 years old, they have the weight, and they throw some duds, then pair them up, right? I don't believe that anymore, okay? The reason is because I've had females that fit that to a T, and I've seen them crash before even being paired. I actually have a girl I'll show you right now. Bimini, I have not paired her. She just laid her first set of duds. She went from 62, 63 grams all the way down to around 55 grams, 52 grams. So she lost 10 grams in her first clutch. And I'm so glad I haven't bred her because it could have been worse. And I'm going to show a video right now of her. You can see she's recovering, right? She's all by herself. I've given her lots of bugs. I've given her extra calcium. We're going to build her back up before she even breeds, and that's not going to be till next year. So she'll be about 2.5, almost 3 before I even consider breeding her. But if you look, you can see her spine is a little bit more defined than I would like. She looks a little thinner than I would like. So that is a case where even a girl who at a year old was 60 grams, right? This was a very, very healthy gecko. Lays her first duds and then just has a little bit of a crash. So we want to avoid that. All right, so let's recap what we've seen as far as when you should start pairing your geckos. They need to be mature. Males are going to be mature at around 2 years old. They're going to need to be at least 45, maybe 50 grams if you're patient. Females need to be at least 2 years old. I would say 2.5 to 3 years old. The longer, the better. They need to, it doesn't matter whether they lay duds or not, but they need to be at least, I would say, 55 to 60 grams to really make sure everything's going to be okay. And even with all these parameters, you do everything correct. When you pair your geckos together, we need to monitor their weight, their health, make sure that they're actually, staying in a healthy state where they thrive and produce some amazing eggs. All right, now that we've gone over when you should actually pair your geckos, the next video, this is going to be a series of everything that I've learned. I can't put it all into one video. So with that, definitely go hit that subscribe button if you want to see the rest of the information that I've learned about breeding geckos. I'm going to go over in the next video how you can go and pair different, whether it's one-on-one or groups, the pros and cons with that. But to go over everything I've learned in just one video is way too much. So stick around for the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Gecko Cove.
Hey, if you've enjoyed this video and want to encourage me to make more Gargoyle Gecko content, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, share this with a friend, and maybe check out one of the videos right over there. I'll see you next time on Gecko Cove.